What's up, guys? Peepo again, and today's Trad Method Monday is actually going to be about something that a lot of people tend to ignore or just not really know that they're doing, and that is proper interlock stringing. And I know it seems like it's something that you should really understand right off the get-go, but I've seen beginners, intermediate, and even expert stringers screw it up sometimes. And sometimes when I'm tired, I even do it. I even miss it. And I've gone a couple knots after it, then I'm like, crud, now I have to go back. And everybody makes those sort of mistakes, so don't think that you're special just because you don't do it, because even the best people do it sometimes, and everybody makes mistakes. But the general consensus is that people do it backwards. So what I'm talking about by backwards is, say, this section, the center section, you're coming down from the scoop, and you're going from the back side, so the outside of the pocket that's facing you goes from the outside to the inside, so it comes around and loops in and comes back out. And then when they're coming up from that transition knot, or coming up from the bottom in a single string basically, they will go from the inside out. Now, when you're actually going from a single string traditional, you're snaking through the pocket, okay? You're going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's down, up, down, up, down. When you're doing that sort of pocket, you actually don't have to change how you're doing the knots. So if I'm coming down this section, I'm going from the back inside all the way down, and then when I get to this transition knot down here, I actually go from, I'm still going the same direction with my knots. You're just going up this time, so it's around the back from the inside out. And so the thing is that when people actually do this, they try and do it a lot with the single strings, and single string, it works out. That's exactly how you're supposed to do it, whether you go from one direction or the other. And when I'm talking about one direction or the other, you're actually, a lot of people string from the inside out. So they'll string from the inside and loop, and then inside and loop. But me, I string from the outside of the pocket. So I'll be stringing like this, stringing from the outside of the pocket. And the thing is, a lot of people take that same concept, they try to transfer that into, say, a symmetrical pocket, but it doesn't work out that way, because with a symmetrical pocket, most of the time, and this is really most of the time, people string from the top of the pocket down, and when you're doing that, you can't actually do that same concept of back to front for all sections. Now, if you do your center section from the outside in, so you're looping around the outside and coming in and coming back out, if you do that center section like that, you actually have to do the opposite in your sections that are connecting to those. So you would have to come from the inside out and loop back in for these sections connecting to the center section. I'm going to be going over a couple of these, just basic concepts, because that's really how you build into being able to do the advanced stuff. You can't just jump into doing the advanced stuff and expect it to go well. If you can't master the basics, I don't think you should really move on to the advanced at all. So today I'm going to be using my prototype Traddy tree. For some reason I like my classic prototype Traddy tree more than my green ones. Maybe just because it's white, I don't know. But so I'm going to be using that in this Evo Light X, and I already have my leathers and everything prepped, and I'm going to just simply show you guys what I mean by interlocking correctly. So say we are doing a regular classic traditional. So we have to go outside, so I'm stringing outside to in, outside to in, and it doesn't matter what you're like. It doesn't matter if you're doing a 6, 10, how many diamonds you're doing with a classic. I would honestly suggest less diamonds. It's a lot easier to get the tensions right, in my opinion anyway. But so the knots are in place, and so we're going to pretend that this string is actually coming from the bottom to go up into the next to that next section. So if I'm coming up from the bottom and this section's already here, I have to go the same direction basically with the string, like I said earlier. If the string is actually coming up, you have to go from the outside in. So outside in, get that out of the way, outside in, you have to loop it around, make sure you loop it around, and then you keep it lined up, and then you go outside in. Now you see how these loops around the leather create this little hole right here? A lot of people, most of the time, miss that little hole, and they'll do something that completely screws up the pocket, and then it doesn't look good, and so on and so forth. And I'll actually show you what that looks like. See how that ends up locking in? Once you get your tension right with those knots, it's going to lock in, and that whole thing people always asking, how do you get your knots not to shift? Knots not to shift. There's a lot of knots in there. But once you get those spots down and you actually have the knots correct, your tension will tighten them in, and then during your break-in process, the interlocks will actually lock or embed themselves in the leather, therefore locking them in place. Now we're going to go over a little bit. Well, here, I'll show you what I mean by about the knots just getting missed entirely. So people tend to do this. They won't even touch that knot. They think they'll be doing it right, but they won't. They'll just completely miss it, and they'll end up looking like that. So now we have that center section done. We're going to pretend that this is going to be a multi-piece classic trad. You're going to take this center section's done basically, and then you actually have to go the opposite for this next section. We're going to go from the inside out, because this center section is actually going to be what determines where everything else goes. Excuse me. So you're going to have to bring the string from the inside out, so up and through that knot, up and through the knot, and then we get our tension, and then we pull the knot nice and tight. See how that works out? Looks exactly the same as if I was coming from the bottom up. And that's the thing. That's all you're doing, is you're just doing the reverse. Okay, you're going essentially backwards, reverse backwards through your knots if you're going to be coming all from the top down. And that's really how you do it. It's that simple. A lot of people think it's super difficult and whatnot, but it's really not. Now I'm going to do this really quick for you, at least try to. And it's actually going to be what a lot of people have been using for their more difficult symmetrical pockets. Okay, so we already have our single interlock. Now we're going to make a double interlock. This double interlock, you just make another loop without going anywhere, and that's how you do it. Very simple. Outside and in. You tighten it in, you feed through what you want, and you come across to the other side. Okay, have my first loop. Come around again from the outside in and up through that loop that I just created without getting tangled. Make sure my tension is good still from that first knot. And then pull it tight, nice and carefully, and boom. That's how you do it. Just a double interlock on your leathers. Now, the thing is, a lot of people don't know exactly what to do next. When it comes to this, they'll go around the outside, back, inside, whatever. It's the same thing as if it's just a regular single interlock. You go from the inside, inside to the outside, up through that same knot, just as if it's a single. Get my tension right, pull it all through, and see how that looks. Just a single knot. Now you can continue on and do singles the rest of the way if your middle is double, but that's not what we're going to be going over today. We're actually going to be going up through that second loop that we created, okay? That second loop. Pull our tension through. Make sure the tension of that first knot is correct by pulling the loop before the knot. And then just keep feeding it all through. Pull both strings tight. And that's how you lock in your double interlock on a leather, okay? So just to kind of summarize what we were just going over, this is actually the way that you're supposed to be doing your interlocks on your traditionals, whether it's a classic single or if it's going to be a PETA, Trad X, O channel, throne pocket, whatever you're trying to make. Pay attention to how your interlocks are going. And again, comes down to what I mentioned almost every Trad Method Monday is tension. Pay attention to your tension of your strings, because that's what determines your ball depth, the channel, it determines how much hold it has, determines so much things. So many things really, but pay attention to it. You guys think it's something super crazy or anything. It's very, very simple to screw up a trad, and it's also very simple to make it work. So pay close attention to the tension of the strings as you're doing your knots. And then once you actually start pounding in your pocket, those interlocks are going to lock into the leathers here. I will actually show you by moving my string off the leather. Do you see how that's kind of warped right there because of the string? That's because I have my tension and everything right, and then bam, it's perfectly fine, like nothing will happen. And that's what keeps your string from shifting up, down, to the side, whatever. It's just tension and proper break-in. So again, guys, pay attention, be patient. Traditional isn't something that you can really learn overnight, at least not everything that you need to know. There have been a couple people out there that have been paying attention just to minute detail of what I've been saying and actually showing me what they've strung, and it'll be their first or second traditional ever, and it actually looks really good because they took the time, they took the patience, and just did what they're supposed to do. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned a little bit of something from this. I know I kind of ramble on about what I'm doing and whatnot, but I feel that by me saying as much as I can, you guys get as much as you need. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. I'll see you guys later.